I have talked before about determinate, but today we are talking about a foe that's arguably much more iconic and much more sinister. The automaton legions. This army of metal men has plagued us throughout the entire Second Galactic War. But where do they come from? Who built them? And what is their goal? None of these questions have defined answers. However, it can be assumed that the automatons are taking after the cyborgs. The cyborgs were former super-Earth colonists who were working in the mines of the ice planet Cyberstan. Due to the harsh conditions in the mines, they started augmenting themselves with cybernetic parts. But eventually, they would view Super-Earth as their oppressor instead of their home. So they declared independence and eventually war by conducting a terror attack on Super-Earth herself. After their defeat in the First Galactic War at the hands of Super-Earth, the cyborgs were enslaved and forced to work in the mines of Cyberstan to extract resources for Super-Earth expansion. However, as the automatons emerged at the dawn of the Second Galactic War, Helldivers across the galaxy started to notice that they looked very similar to the cyborgs of the First Galactic War, even donning the very same symbol as their predecessors. Hence, people now believe that the automatons have been built by the cyborgs in order to exact their revenge on Super-Earth. This is further supported by an encrypted message from Cyberstan, where the cyborgs explicitly state that the automaton are their children. Eventually, the automatons would push towards Cyberstan, and eventually they took the former homeworld of the cyborgs, which now resides deep within automaton territory. What happened to it since then, we do not know. It has allured any of our scout parties, and we have no information on what's happening on the planet. However, Super-Earth space telescopes have picked up a change in the planet's overall color, suggesting large-scale terraforming or climate change. All this is very concerning, but ever since the re-emergence of the Illuminate, the automatons have been mostly sidelined by the other two factions. The fact that the socialist automatons have not conducted any grander plans ever since then alludes to the fact that they are probably planning something very big right as we speak. My personal theory is that the automatons have freed the cyborgs of Cyberstan, and that now the planet serves as a giant factory to bolster the number of the cyborgs for their eventual re-emergence at the side of their automaton children. I believe that if we ever were to push through to Cyberstan, we would not encounter a regular automaton defense force, but an army of cyborgs ready to defend a planet that has been turned into a giant mega factory, maybe a bit similar to our mega cities. Though, considering the major schemes of the other two factions, I do not believe that we are going to be able to push through to Cyberstan before the cyborg army is ready. Because of course, they don't just plan to stay on Cyberstan. My prediction is that by the end of 2185, the automatons will pull their forces from the fringes of their territories, focusing on their primary sector, to then push forward in the direction of Super-Earth with overwhelming force, conducting a blitzkrieg on the sectors between Cyberstan and Super-Earth. In this initial push towards our glorious capital, the automaton legions may already be bolstered with cyborg infantry and lesser units. However, I believe that the main cyborg fighting force will only reveal itself once the automaton fleet has reached Super-Earth, which I think will be inevitable. With the great losses we have already experienced at the hands of the Illuminate Great Host, we might not be able to hold our capital this time, marking the beginning of a dark time in humanity's history. However, if we do manage to thwart the attempt to take Super-Earth by the automatons, their forces will now be significantly weakened and their territory vulnerable. This, in my opinion, will probably lead to the extermination of the automatons and by associations their cyborg overlords. Now, at the end of this video about the automatons, let's take a minute to remember the Creek. Viewing is mandatory, as stated by the Ministry of Truth.